Hello! Welcome to another design tutorial. My name is Janice and today we are going to learn what is raster image versus vector graphics. And today I'm going to teach you how to turn a raster image into a vector graphic in Illustrator. It is so easy. Let's get started. So before we get into that, I would like to explain what's the difference between raster image and vector graphics. So basically, raster image is made of hundreds or thousands or millions of tiny little squares, okay, which is referred to as pixels or dots. Alright, and the most common type of raster image is a photograph, basically. So the designer's preferred program for creating and editing images are usually using the Adobe Photoshop, and we have different types of file formats. It could be JPEG, PNG, TIFF, bitmap, GIF, PSD, all sorts. So usually you're going to edit a photograph and to upload it on the web. We usually use a 72 dpi. Now those term dpi stands for dots per inch. So let's say you have a 1 by 1 square image at 300 dpi. Okay, that's like 300 individual squares of color, okay, that provide shading and detail in your photograph. So the more dpi your image has, the more details it will be. As you zoom into the picture, there's more details that you can see, but the less dpi that you have, the more you zoom in, the picture becomes very blurry and you can't really see what you're looking at. The detail is not there. So usually for web, we like to put it under 72 dpi's because not only will bring the quality of the image lower, but it will also your images are smaller and it makes faster loading times for websites and so on. So if the dpi is too much, sometimes it takes a long time for the website to load your images, and it creates lots of frustrations. And usually for print, the more dpi's you have, the better, but our standard dpi's are usually around 300. Okay, so that's raster image for you. Unlike raster images, vector graphics are not made up of grid of pixels. Instead, vector graphics are comprised of paths which are defined by a start and end point, along with other points, curves, and angles along the way. A path can be a line, a square, a triangle, a curvy shape. These paths can be used to create simple drawings or complex diagrams. So these terms are taken from techterms.com. I'm just referencing from them. The most common type of vector graphics are usually fonts and logos. So usually a designer like myself or someone professional, we love Illustrator. That's why I love Illustrator so much. And the reason being, we can create a vector graphic and it can be scalable. You can scale how big or how small you want, but the quality still remains. I will show you in a moment of what I mean. So as you can see in front of me, can you spot the difference? It looks almost the same, isn't it? But I'll tell you what, as I zoom in, you can actually click this magnifying glass or Control plus or Command plus on Mac. So the first image, as you can see, is actually an image. It's a photograph, okay? And the one that you can see with all these little dots and pieces, I've turned that into a vector graphic. So today we're going to learn to turn the image into a vector graphic. So an image, if you can see closely to here, the more I zoom in, the more I zoom in, the more pixelated it'll become. As I mentioned earlier, the raster image is made out of hundreds and thousands and millions of tiny squares of color information, or pixels. What's it called? Pixels. Okay, we'll zoom out. And for the vector graphic, the more you scale in, the more detail you get in, the quality remains, the image quality remains. So that's the difference between the vector graphic and the raster image. Now we'll want to recreate this and transform this image into vector graphic. Very easy. First we'll just make a copy here. Okay, and I'll zoom in, Control plus or Command plus on Mac. Okay, make sure to select your image. Under image trace, click this little arrow here, your tracing presets. Now because if let's say your this is what I do when I created my Hopeless Romantic Toolkit. I had to make sure the quality is the best and it looks good, it looks like an image itself, so I will choose the high fidelity photo. Okay, so just wait for a while for it to do its magic. Alright, and we are done. I think that looks good. If you're not really happy with the result, you can always adjust it, and you can click on this image trace panel. You can adjust to less or more, but I think I'm pretty happy with how it's looking at the moment, so I'll just delete this box. And once I'm happy with it, I can just click expand. Alright, and now it's turned into a vector graphic. Very easy. And usually there's a bit of cleaning up to do, of course, but what I'm trying to say here is I'll just delete this background. So if you love painting and you want to create your image into a vector graphic, you can do this, but there might be some cleaning up to do. Be forewarned. Just get all the white bits off, you know, and once you've done all this, your graphics are ready to be sold in the marketplace. Of course, as you know, make sure you package it well and you put in the right formats and give them plenty of options for them to choose from. The more options you give, the easier you make someone's life is. So I know the more work for you, but people will really thank you for it because they don't have to do all this by themselves. Okay, you get my point here. Okay, if you want to go into more detail, you zoom in, Control plus or Command plus. You're done. Now what I mean is when I say when you scale something, it will not lose its quality. Let me just demonstrate it for you. See, your image starts to get distorted. So that is why I chose the high fidelity photo. When you choose a high fidelity photo, you would not even notice it's a vector image. It looks like an image in itself, but as you go closer, you know it's a vector graphic. So that's all for today. Very easy tutorial, and I hope you learned something today. Thank you, and see you next week for our next tutorial. And so if you are interested in my Hopeless Romantic Toolkit, you can head over to janicedesigns.co and under shop, click on graphics. And at the moment, I've only have this Hopeless Romantic Toolkit. So basically, this Hopeless Romantic Toolkit has over 100 plus doodles, illustrations, frame elements, brushes, and backdrops. and it includes the romantic scene creator. Okay, so you have all these 14 watercolor bears illustrations. They're really beautiful. Okay, so these are what sort of cards you can create from my toolkit. And you have 24 watercolor frame elements you can use. There are 10 watercolor backdrop variations. You also have 10 watercolor seamless patterns. You also can create and personalize your scene all in one place. So if you have Illustrator, you can open this and then you can create your scene, something like this. And you will have 3 pre-made cards included inside this bundle. It's currently on special at the moment, so head over there right now. This is due to Valentine's season, so I hope you grab it as soon as you can. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and click the bell button. I'll see you next time.